Blessed be my lovelies, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going through my Q4 reading journal update, the last one of the year, which is really weird to do because I need to set up for first quarter. I need to set up for 2026 in this journal, but it's also one of those weird things where it's like I don't know how long these pages need to be, how many pages I need to save. Because there's just a lot. Anyways, the first book that I read this quarter was The Mortal Instruments City of Bones. I believe this is a reread, I think, or it could just be the fact that I watched the movie before I read the book, even though I had the book before. I had the book when the movie was coming out, like while the movie was in theaters. I had the book because this copy that I have says now a motion picture something and the other on it, but it felt familiar, and I think that's because I watched the movie. I truly did not have much to say about this because, again, it felt like I'd read it before because I'd watched the movie, so I didn't really have anything new to write down. It would just be me regurgitating the story, which I'm trying to not do in the entries. A quick thing to just interject here, I will try my best to not spoil the stories, the books that I've read in the voiceover. However, if you want to avoid spoilers, do not read, if you can, what I've written in the journal entry. That's the only way that I can get context, really. This is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series. There are a lot of series in this world, and I don't know the chronological timeline of it because I have like three different sets of this world's books. I've got this one, Mortal Instruments, City of Bones. I also have City of Ashes, which is Mortal Instruments book 2. And then I have Infernal Devices book 1. And then I have, I don't know what series it's from, but it's Lady Midnight. It's from a different series in this, it's from a different series in this world. So I'm just like, okay, what is happening here? And the thing is, I didn't like go into a bookstore and buy these. These I think I got at like a Dollar Tree, like a book bin at one of those dollar stores. I truly believe, which is why they're so disjointed. But thankfully, the bookstore here on Island has all of them. It unfortunately, every time I went there, it did not have the second book in the Infernal Devices, but it had 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, however many it is. So the next time I go, hopefully I'll be able to like get more books. Anyways, this book, like I said, is the first in the Mortal Instruments series, and we follow Clarissa Fay, or Frey, I think it's Frey with the R, as she discovers or rediscovers herself, really and truly. If you've watched the movie, you know what the heck I'm talking about. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who haven't, this is a mythical, magical world, supernatural stuff. There's the Downworlders, which are the, let's call them the supernaturals. So you've got like the demons and the warlocks, which are half human, half demon, and all sorts of other beings like that. And then you've got the shadow hunters, which are essentially like what their name says, the hunters of the Downworlders, basically, or at least the quote-unquote policing force of the Downworlders. Like if the Downworlders get out of line, they are licensed to kill in order to protect the mundanes, which are the humans, and the shadow hunters. It's a bit spicy. I say spicy, I don't mean spicy as in like spicy, if you know what I mean. I mean spicy as in like there's a lot going on that people just aren't saying. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of miscommunications. I think there's a lot of emotions that ride. There's a lot of, yeah, secrets is a big one, actually. Secrets play a big part in this, and it's kind of wild. I forgot just an element in it. I completely forgot because I was like, am I thinking of the right Mortal Instruments story? Because the movie has that scene, I think, at the very end, but the scene that I'm thinking of is it it's a gradual thing that's eventually happens, but leading up to it, there's a bit of umming and ahhing from the reader's perspective about like if it should actually be happening. But it is eventually figured out before it goes too far. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, thank goodness you don't know. And if you want to know, I recommend the book over the movie. I think the book does it obviously better because it's the first iteration of it. And the movie has to take some creative license in how it delivers the story and stuff. But yeah, this was a really good read. Like I said, it felt so familiar to the point where I couldn't write much about it. Like I literally just wrote this one page about it because I truly could not write anything else. I really couldn't think of anything else to write. Just to touch on some of the characters, Clarissa is a teenager, as teenagers do. She's with her single mother, Jocelyn, who has a lot of secrets that she's kept from Clarissa. Clarissa has her best friend Simon, who's truly he is truly like the best friend we all deserve at some point. Just unapologetically himself. Then we have Jace Wayland, Isabel and Alec Lick, I think with the C, Lightwood, and Hodge of the Shadowhunters. And we meet probably one of my favorite characters from the Mortal Instruments universe. What in fan fiction regards, Magnus Bane. Oh my god, for some reason I don't know how this dude looks. I don't remember how he looks. How he is described in the books and in fan fiction is like he's that guy that you'd meet at like a table with like a concession stand or whatever, and he just randomly give you life advice for no reason, but he'd do it in a way that's like you've been friends for years and you just appreciate it because he's so, again, like Simon, unapologetically himself, and he doesn't care what people think. Like, he doesn't care for their opinions unless he asks for them. I love me a Magnus Bane. But yes, these characters are prominent in the story. There's also Valentine, who is the main, let's call him the villain. I don't like him for many reasons. If you know, you know. If not, thank goodness you don't know, again, because this man is aggravating. But it all comes down to preference and choice and whatnot. But yes, this was such a good read for me, at least. I so glad I picked it to read as my first one for this quarter. I gave City of Bones 4 stars. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It got a cop-out rating of 7.9. The next book that we're reading is probably the first book in a well-loved series of standalones. That's such a weird thing to say, but it's a series of standalones. They're slightly connected, but they're not connected, if that makes sense. They're all in the same world. I think they all cover the same characters, just from different segments, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But Twisted Love. Now, I picked this up because I needed a third book to stretch my money. And I'm so glad I decided this one was gonna be that book. Because wow, okay? Twisted Love is one of those books that has content warnings in the front of it. It's also a 2020s published book. I think it was published 2021, and then another version of it came out 2022, something like that. Boy, oh boy, let me tell you, this is one of those stories where it feels like a well-written, I'm gonna say it again, a well-written fan fiction. It's like it's one of those fan fictions that you read and you're like, hold on, why is this not a book? Why is it on a fan fiction website? Why is this not a book? It's one of those. But in the like, it's so good, y'all. Anna Huang knocked it out of the park. And this is the first time I'm reading a book of hers. But holy hell. Okay. Twisted Lovely, first book in the Twisted series of standalones, again, very strange, that covers the relationship between Alex Volkov and Ava Chen. Ava Chen is your happy-go-lucky, sunshine personified girly. I believe they're all early 20s because they're in college. It's America. I don't understand their education system all that well. And Alex Volkov, I've written, is quite frankly the love child of Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark. If Tony Stark had Bruce Wayne's training, if you know what I mean. And also cutthroat. He's got the cutthroat businessman of both of them, but he's less inventive than Tony Stark and more CEO like Bruce Wayne, if that makes any sense. Because this dude he's a character, okay? He is a character. There's a lot that goes on in this book. This book is actually quite short from all that I've read before. There's a lot that happens, okay? We got spice. If I had to give this a spice rating, which I might start implementing if I continue down the line of books that I do, this, and I have like five, let's call it 5 peppers, like I do 5 stars. This would be, I think, somewhere between 3.5 stars, 3.5 peppers of spice. There's an entire chapter dedicated to spice, but it's not raunchy. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's well done spice. It's tasteful spice, if you know what I mean. Mostly because your boy Alex, I think he dips into BDSM, but there isn't all of like the physical elements, like the material elements of BDSM. It's more of like, he's rougher than vanilla. He's less vanilla than the regular person. So let's call it that. But it's BDSM is referenced in the book, but it's not actually like implemented, if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense, but I hope what I'm saying makes sense. This relationship between Ava and Alex is a roller coaster and a half, mostly because Alex he has the emotional understanding of a blind beaver's chiseled toothpick. So I need y'all to just like, y'all need to just like hold on for him, okay? Because he does eventually start to understand emotions. He does eventually start to realize that it is okay to be honest about his emotions with the people around him. It is okay. He and Ava start off rocky because Alex is Josh's best friend, Josh being Ava's older brother by I think about 4 years, and that is how they meet. The reason their relationship starts to develop is because Josh, Ava's older brother, has to go overseas to South America for his medical thingy. And he's over there, and Josh is usually like looking out for Ava. She's his little sister, but she's also been through a lot of traumatizing things, and he's just being a big brother and looking out for her. But Ava is like, I don't need you to look out for me. I need people to stop treating me like I'm glass and just let me live. And her brother brings up a good point of like, the last time I let you live, your best friend almost got you arrested. So I'm gonna try and keep you out of jail and alive. How about that? While giving you the freedom of a human being. So we have, their relationship is really cute. Their sibling relationship is really sweet. But Ava and Alex, they're the main thing about this. Their relationship, let me tell you, it is a mess. But it's like one of those messes that it's like, oh, that's life. That's life. So Alex has HSAM, which is, I've written as eidetic and photographic memory on steroids, basically. So he's not just remembering what he sees, he's like, he can re-experience what he's been through, like on command. And I think because of that and other underlying things is why he's like emotionally detached or like constipated when it comes to stuff like that, because he's spent so long. I think it's like a coping mechanism from re-experiencing just about everything he's ever been through on command, where he gets like overwhelmed by the emotions again and again and again and again. So he's just trained himself subconsciously to just not emote so that he doesn't get overwhelmed. That's just my speculation, could be entirely wrong. But because of that, he and Ava have a rocky start, and then it turns into something that's quite spicy. And then Ava's friends get involved, where they're trying to like prove that Alex is a human or some shit. Truly, it's one of those where it's like, why are you friends with these people? No. And it's specifically that one friend that almost got her arrested. You know what I mean? It's that one friend who's like, why are you friends with this girl if she's just constantly the devil on your shoulder? Even though she has good intentions, but like the saying says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Ava does her best to be a good friend to Alex. Alex does his best to not be a friend to Ava, but it eventually, as I said before, it eventually does evolve into something. Then it evolves even more. Secrets get unraveled, secrets get remembered, trauma is fought and overcome. Honestly, it was quite beautiful how she did that. And things get a bit wild. Alex does a thing that messes up a lot of stuff. Ava does a thing that messes up some stuff for her, really. And then it's one of those things where it's like, this is the deal breaker, but it's taking them a while to figure out how to go about it. And it's like a time skip situation until they figure it out and essentially start over in some way. It is so hard to not spoil anything in the voiceover. It's so hard. It's a mess. I freaking loved it though. This is my kind of mess. This is my kind of like really well done drama. It hit the points that it needed to hit. The beats were hit on time. And it was just like, you were there, and because it's dual point of view, it's like whenever you read Alex's chapters, you're like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. I get it. And then you read Ava's chapters and you're like, but this is how he really feels. But this is how she really feels. I understand where you're coming from. I get it. And then you're like, okay, but like the two of y'all need to come together and talk. I understand that Alex has the emotional range of a spoon, but y'all need to talk. Y'all really need to. And eventually it does happen. Shit goes down even further again and again, and stuff gets real. But it is so like I feel like I say this a lot, but like this was beautifully written. So I don't know what it is. I think I'm falling in love with the worlds that people create even deeper than I normally am. And because I'm getting so attached, it's just like, that was so well done, because I forgot that this wasn't real. You know, it was one of those things. But oh god, I can't wait for the second one, because the second one tackles another couple, or I say a couple, they're not a couple. It tackles a pairing from this book in that one, purely them, and I want to read it so bad. But I gave Twisted Love 4 stars, I believe. God, I wish I knew. On the Kalpow scale, I believe I got 8.7, which is really close to getting 4.5 stars. But holy, ooh, it's so good. The next book is the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series by Ransom Riggs. It is Hollow City. Oh my god. I feel like I say this a lot with books that I read. But I feel like I'm just getting lucky with really good books. I think it's the vibe check. I don't know. But Hollow City. I've had the sequel for a very long time because I've had the first book for a very long time, and it's a reread for me, the first book, and the second one was the first time. Oh my god, am I so glad that I have the second book. And I'm so glad I have the third book because the second book picks up right where the first book left off. As in, like, you blink and it's the next book. This follows the story immediately as it left off, like I said, where the children have escaped the island that they were on, and they've had to leave, or I think they've had to abandon the loop because Miss Peregrine is hurt, or like she's been taken or something. I don't understand that part. Like, is the loop broken because Miss Peregrine is gone, or is it broken because Miss Peregrine was forcibly taken from it by the whites? That's what I don't remember. We get a lot more about Jacob and his peculiarity. They run through a lot. Their goal is to find another Yimbrin to help Miss Peregrine out of her bird form, which is a whole bag of beans by itself. Like, truly, that plot twist is amazing. We get more of Emma and Jacob's relationship. Emma does this thing that I really hate in any kind of relationship, is where one person decides for the other person how they feel or what they should do without talking to them about it. And that's what happens between Emma and Jacob. But Jacob is like, you can't decide for me. I'm gonna think about this myself, and I'm gonna come to a decision myself, and you're gonna get my answer when I've thought about it and decided. That's that. So props to him for sticking up for himself, honestly. And I keep forgetting that Jacob is, I think he's early 20s, or he's like between 16 and 19. I can't remember, honestly, but he's a youngin', and so are the children, technically. I mean, obviously they've been in their loop for like 70 years, so they're actually like, or probably longer than that. So most of them are like 100 plus, but stuck in their like teenage bodies. We actually meet the girl on the front cover of the book in this story as well, which is wild. It didn't connect to me until I saw her picture in the book, that it's the same girl from the cover. And I was like, hold on. So that's how you find out she's peculiar? Wild. Took me for a spin. But I freaking love this. There were a lot of character moments that I really liked. There were character moments from Horace, who is... Which one is Horace? Is he the bees? No. Horace... Hugh is the bees. He was the peculiar boy with the bees in his stomach. He was a boss. Oh god, he was so good. Horace, I think he's the one that dresses really fancy. I don't think he's not the invisible boy. I don't think he is. Is he? I think he's... I'm struggling. Horace has a moment. Hugh has a moment. Jacob has a moment. Who else has a moment? Olive has a moment, like very, very early on in the book. Like, she's the reason they're all alive, I think, to be honest with you. We love a mother hen. Good God, what is her name? In the front of the book, there's like a literal like picture wall of all the children. I'm just gonna reference that for their names. No, Millard is the invisible boy. Okay, that's what I thought. Horace is the one who dreams. He's the fortune teller, not fortune teller, but he's like the prophet sort of situation. Like, he has premonitory dreams. That's what it is. Horace has a moment where he stands up to one of the enemy characters. Hugh has a moment where he absolutely bodies the enemy characters. Millard has a couple moments as well. Millard was really helpful with his invisibility. He was so helpful with that. Enoch is the one who can reanimate dead things, essentially. he was a piece of work this entire story. Like, if you think there's somebody who's overly positive, he's the exact opposite. I don't know what's going on with him. Bronwyn is the very, very strong girl who mother hens the ever living fluff out of everybody, and I love her for it because it's not overpowering and like mother henning. It's more like endearing mother henning, where it's like she's truly genuinely has no ill intentions and is just looking out for you, but also making you, like, giving you the chance to make your own choices. But she's just like making sure that you're aware, like, there's consequences and stuff to this. She's also just real sweet on the younger children as well. Like, she's big sister energy for Emma. She's like auntie energy for Olive. It's quite sweet, her relationship with the others. I gave Hollow City 4.5 stars. It was very close to getting 5 stars. Very close. I think it's a 9.4 on my cop-out scale. In the decimal, I think only needed like 0.08, I think, for it to be a 9.5, which would have made it still a 4.5. But if it was like 9.51 or something, it would have been a 5-star. Oh my goodness. This story, wow. The characters were amazing. The atmosphere was unbelievable. The writing was up my alley. The plot was so easy to follow and interesting, kept you intrigued, all of that. It was amazing. I really do hope people pick up this series because it's so good. The next book in this quarter is the second book in the duet of the Crown of Neaxia series. And yes, it is an actual series. I was so happy when I found that out at the end of this book. This is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I'm struggling here and using only one hand because my left hand has decided to rebel against my body and is throwing a hissy fit. It has swollen. The day that I was recording this, I believe it's the day after, it has swollen to is like the biggest size it has ever gotten to. And then my wrist is also out of commission. I don't know what I did to myself, but I can't use my left hand without being in stupid amounts of pain. So that is what's going on and why I'm struggling. Thankfully, it's my left hand because if it was my right hand, I would be so upset with the world because I wouldn't be able to get anything done. I'm right-handed, as you can tell. Anyways, let me tell you about this book. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King is actually the second book in a series of what I think is going to be 6 books if the pattern is continuing. Turns out it's the first duet of 3 duets in the Crown of Neaxia series. So this is the Nightborn duet. The next one is the Shadowborn duet. And the last one is the Bloodborn duet. But currently, the most recent book is the 4th one, which is the last book in the Shadowborn duet. I literally just said them and I completely blanked on the names that I said. I believe I got those right, the order. I believe so. But the 5th book, I think, is planned, or like it's supposed to be coming, I think. But the 4th book is coming out next year, which is insane. However, let me actually talk about the book itself. So this book picks up, I believe, right after the last one, the first one. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, I cannot remember if they got married at the end of the first book or the beginning of this one, because this book took me a while to read, so I'm kind of confusing just about everything. However, they go through a lot. So Rain and Araya are married now. They are the rulers of Civ Renage, I think. I say it in my head one way because I can literally read the letters. I can't say it now because I'm not reading the letters, but I think that's the like the town, the village that they're in. I think Obertrace is the overall like continent, I guess is what it would be called. But they are now the rulers of their little kingdom. However, because of Araya's let's call it lineage, the vampires don't necessarily like her, even though she is discovered to be Vincent's actual child. I think you discover that at the end of the first book, but it doesn't click for me until this book because of all of the like her backstory and stuff is being recognized in this book as well. So we're getting a lot about that. Mish left at the end of the first book, or like she didn't leave. Leaving is of her own volition. She got sent away because homie was beaten. She was just a mess. She comes back to be Araya's bodyguard, quote unquote bodyguard, because she's close with Rain. So now they have like a third person on their side because guess what? They're going to war. Why? Because ego, I think. But also like power struggles or something. I'm trying to not spoil. If it's not obvious, I'm trying so hard to not spoil. So Araya discovers a lot more about herself. She also discovers a lot more about Rain. Shit goes down. The war happens. I think they technically won. There was stuff to do with like god teeth and blood, which were returned in exchange for something else. Nyaxia is a bitch. I'm gonna just tell you that straight up. Like, I get it. You can live. You don't have to continue surviving. You can start living, right? But she's taking out all of her... She's, to this day, still taking out all of her anger against the other gods on the people on the land who technically have nothing to do with it. Like, I don't fully understand Nyaxia's deal. Like, why is she pissed at the people she created and not the people that took her husband away from her? Well, I guess she is angry at the people who took her husband away from her, but also like she's not only mad at them. She's also mad at the innocent people that she created. And because of that, because of she created them, they've been at war, at arms, not necessarily war, but like basically they don't like each other for millennia because she can't be asked to fix her own problems. And so Araya and Rain are now the unfortunate heroes who have to fix that problem. And they do, because Araya and Rain are the heirs of the opposing lines. So now they're on their way to fixing things. It's been a while since I've read the book, okay? It's been, because between my hands swelling and not being able to do literally anything, I think as of recording this, it has been almost a week since I finished the book. I could be wrong with my timelines because having your body reject itself does things to you. Either way, I freaking love this book. I'm so glad that it's not the last in the series and that it's literally just getting started. But I gave The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King 5 stars. It got 9.6 on my cop-out rating. I rounded up. The math gave me 9.57, but I was like, nah, I want 9.1, like something, 9.x. So I rounded up to 9.6 and that gives it 5 stars. I'm pretty sure this is like my second or third 5-star this year because it took me until now to realize that, hey, I can use decimal points in my grading. Our next book is City of Ashes, the second book in the Mortal Instruments series. The last book that I have of the Mortal Instruments series. I really want to complete the series and get the Clockwork series as well, like continue that one, because I think I only have the first book of that one. I only have Clockwork Angel of that one. Either way, City of Ashes, it continues City of Bones, obvi, and we now learn more about Clary and Jace. We see more of Valentine. We meet a new character, the Inquisitor, who I hate. Just because she's the type of person that doesn't listen, or like refuses to listen, or refuses to get all sides of the story before making her opinion. She's the kind of person who's adamant that her way is the right way, regardless of the laws of literally either their country, their world, or even the universe. Regardless of them, they will say my way or the highway. And the reason she is like that is understandable, in the sense that you learn more about why she is the way that she is and why she's doing the things that she's doing. But she comes to terms with it all in some way, shape, or form. We learn more about Valentine's plan. We learn more about Simon, because stuff went down with him in the first book, and now the consequences of those actions are coming to fruition in this book. We learn more about Jason, Clary, like I said, and they are using what they were given to benefit themselves and everybody else around them. The Lightwoods are doing their thing, and I'm talking the Lightwood parents. The mother, especially Maurice, I think is her name, or Maris. Couldn't tell you how to pronounce it for the life of me. She is also just like, honey, what are you doing? Because she started off the same way the Inquisitor started off, and I'm just like, honey, what are you doing? And her husband, Sir Lightwood, I think his name is Robert. So easy. He is a silent badass. Like, he doesn't have much dialogue, but his presence is known the way that Cassandra writes him. His presence is known. He really is like dad, you know? But he's like badass dad that knows how to cut you in half with a scimitar. You know what I'm saying? He's like that. And then we learn more about Luke and his side of things, I think, as well. We meet the Queen of Fairies, who's a voyeur. But like, do you, Queen? I guess. That's all I'm gonna say about it, because that's literally just like brushing the surface. Those are like the plot points, if that makes sense. Roughly the plot points. But I gave City of Ashes 4.5 stars. It got 9.4 on my Cop-Out scale. And that is the 22nd book of this year. That's wild. I have started the next book for this quarter. It is the second book in the Crescent City series, and I have started it now instead of waiting until December because it's 801 pages. So forgive me. The last book in this setup is House of Sky and Breath, second book in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. I tell you, I need the last book. I'm upset. A House of Sky and Breath, like I said, is the second book in the trilogy for Crescent City. I don't know how to explain this. Because of how 2 is set up, I'm thinking it's the first part of like the duet that's in the trio, in the trilogy, if that makes sense. Because this story, or like this plot, isn't finished. The first book you could read as a standalone and it'd be fine. Like, if that was your first and last of the Crescent City book, you'd be fine, because that plot wraps itself up in one book. However, Sky and Breath, and the third one I think is Flame and Shadow, they are connected. At least to my understanding, because Sky and Breath is not done. And I'm upset. Simply because the ending is so good. I don't know how people can say these last 2 are like overrated or like overly hyped. I think they're hyped enough. Because they're connected and it's so well written. Oh god, okay. Let me just try something here. So the second book picks up in, I think, the same year that the first book finished. So the first book finished in the spring of the year, and you get like the timeline set up in like the first couple chapters, and this one of it being like a couple months later, like it's the next season basically. I think it's the autumn of that same year that this book starts. And we're met with a new character from the very beginning, or at least we get like in the prologue, we get a new character who is basically like a major plot point in the entire story, but she's not referenced. Well, I take that back. She is referenced quite a bit, but like not to the point where she's a main character. Obviously, Bryce Hunt and the others are like the characters, but her role is quite important. It has a lot of impact, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's a big, like, her role has a big impact. And there's just a lot going on. There's talk about the rebels. There's talk about the Asteri. You find out a lot about the Asteri in this. Find out a lot about Danica. You find out more about Bryce and Rune and their lineage and stuff like that. You find out more about Hunt. A lot of the inner workings of the city you also find out a lot about. This journal entry for this actually took me like a week to do because I just couldn't find the motivation to do it. But it also is the shortest I think I will ever write for a Crescent City book, because the first one I think was like 6 or 7 pages, maybe even like 8. And this one I think is only like 2.5 technically. But It's oh, I love this. I need to finish this series. I really need to finish it. And I've got some quotes up here. Light It Up Bryce is a callback to Danica and Bryce, but this is now between Hunt and Bryce because of their situation that's going on in the book. And then Long Live the Queen is actually a line from Rune to Bryce in a situation at the very end of the book. It gets spicy, y'all. Hunt and Bryce figure themselves out and they get spicy. There's also other people getting spicy. Rune gets spicy. I think Hunt's boss at some point gets spicy. Spicy in the hot peppers way, but then there's also spicy in the this is a lot of information that's gonna like mess up a lot of people kind of way. The very end is especially like that. I gave House of Sky and Breath 9.92 on the Copal scale, which gives it 5 stars. I believe this is the third 5-star book of the year for me, and it's great. I'm ending the year on a 5-star. And I think that is it for this video. I'm just updating my reading goals, my book tracker, and my index and all of that, as well as the series tracker. Then going into the quarterly goals, which took me a while to do because as I was recording these clips, we had no internet in the house, so I couldn't actually reference my story graph to get this information. But once the internet came back, I was able to like write it down and then fill in these sections that I created. So my genres for this quarter were young adult, contemporary, romance, fantasy, horror, and science fiction. And then my number of pages for this quarter was 3,617, which is an average of 517 pages per book, and I read 7 books this quarter. Then my star ratings, I have 2 4 stars, 2 4.5 stars, and 3 5 stars. And the months read, I counted this as the months that I finished books in because House of Sky and Breath, actually I finished the 1st of December, and that was my last book for the quarter. Because it was such a long book, I wasn't expecting to finish it so soon. So I have 4 books in October, 2 books in November, and the 1 book in December. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video where I will be setting up my reading journal for 2026. I'll be continuing the same journal and just starting anew for the new year. So until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye 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 bye.